going to do a tutorial for you today on course lighting. Course lighting is a technique of getting to the center of the planet just about as fast as possible. I do want to apologize for some of the lag that's going to happen today. I don't know what's going on. I think I might have a memory leak. So, things you'll need for course lighting are going to be a soil canister, a small generator, and drill mod or the wide mod would be usually preferable to have. You're not required to have a small battery or a small oxygen tank, but I keep those around for safety's sake. So course lighting was a technique developed by the Intergalactic Appliance Alliance, headed by Captain Space Toaster, and the technique was developed by a few other people as well. So if you're trying to get to the center of a planet as quickly as possible, a few things are kind of necessary, or at least nice. If you have some natural caves, this obviously doesn't go very far, but having some natural caves are nice to be able to get in, and that way you have to do a little bit less work to get into the planet. I'm keeping a buggy around just for fun, and oxygen. Down here you can see I have my home base just over the horizon. I'm just staying away from that because I already have a fairly decent exploration network going down there, so I don't want to have to bother with that. You will need to put your drill mod, if you have any of them attached, over on your soil extractor, otherwise they won't work. They do consume energy, so this is also another reason why I have the small battery around. When you're going down into the planet, it'd be nice to have a few resin, especially here on Silva. You're probably going to need 3 or 4 resin to get oxygen filters, and probably 1 or 2 organic for the small generator. Alright, so when you start working your way down hills, you'll eventually figure out what kind of angle you need in order to start sliding. It's not a huge amount. It's like 15-20 degrees. As long as you have that kind of a down angle, you're going to do alright. Speaking of resin and organic, would have been helpful for me to do this ahead of time. Apologies. So, what we're going to do for course lighting today is to dig down probably about a 45-degree angle or so. And if you just dig straight down, or sorry, at an angle like this, and with your soil extractor, if you hit the control key by default, this is going to help flatten out the terrain. This is not working for some reason. Oh, good. There we go. When you hit control, you'll see that it kind of flattens out into a little bar, and that's going to allow us to flatten out the terrain that's in front of us. When course lighting was first starting to be developed, Frownfish and Captain Space Toaster decided that they were basically going to just start digging straight down, and this created a few problems, especially when you open up into a cavern below. You can fall to your death, so it becomes really easy to die by fall damage. So what they started doing was digging almost vertically, and then if they were to break into a lower cavern level, which eventually would happen, they'd use the flatten terrain tool and try and get the floor underneath them to also be at an angle. If it was at a steep enough angle, they wouldn't actually take fall damage, and it became a lot of hit or miss, and so they decided, you know what, this isn't really working for us. Space Toaster did sort of the usual thing, which is you dig tunnels down, and then at some point later you just kind of zigzag down, 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 and keep doing this switchback thing. Unfortunately, it takes a lot of time and effort, especially since most of the time back then we were still using tethers as part of the speedrun. Tethers allow you to have oxygen as long as you're hooked up to an oxygenator, which usually is back at your base. Captain Space Toaster also figured out that you can use your oxygenator as a beacon, and you can see it through the planet. So rather than using an oxygenator for tethers, he was using it for a beacon. This meant that tethers were essentially useless. He was able to either carry a shuttle with him on some of the other future trips, which you can also see course lining on other planets, especially Glacio, is useful. It's useful to have a shuttle with you to be able to just have portable oxygen. It is a bit of, not exactly a bug or a glitch. It might be a cheat, but for the most part, everybody uses it. Or you can have a portable buggy like this, but during a speed run, you're not going to have a buggy. So, the trick here, though, is that we're going to combine both of the skills that I talked about earlier, being able to slide as well as using the flattened terrain tool to dig out a hole in front of you. So, this became a little bit interesting. It's been a few months since Toaster really developed this into its own kind of category of course sliding. Alright, so basically what you need to do is hold down Shift and walk forward. When you start sliding, you can immediately let go of Shift and then press on Control, which will allow you to use the flattened terrain tool. You need to aim at the ground in front of you, have the flattened terrain tool a few feet in front of you at most, and then slide forward. If you develop too much speed, you will go off the end of your ramp, and you will end up taking fall damage and dying. We'll see how many times I can actually need to get down. So most of the time what's going to happen is you keep this a couple of feet in front of you. Once you get up to the speed you want, you stop pressing forward, and sometimes you need to press backward just a little bit to prevent yourself from going too fast. So here we go. We're going to move forward, and then once I start sliding, I'm going to use Control to use the flattened terrain tool. And that was a common mistake. Alright, so when you're doing this in the beginning, you're going to notice that you end up botching it. Just like I did. So one of the things that might happen is you end up hitting a wall or something like that. And if you hit a wall, typically you're not going to continue the slide. It'll end immediately. And it's not a big deal. It's just something you're going to have to get used to. A wide mod does make this a lot easier to be able to slide down, and you don't typically miss your mark nearly as much. So let's try this again. So forward, hit back a couple of times. Nope. Okay, and we are... Yeah, okay. Well, this lag is not good. Let's see if we can find where we fell from. Okay, so it's up there. I'm going to bring this back down. Create a ramp from here. That's too steep. Yeah, it's too steep. Another thing to mention, you may have noticed, when you're going back up a ramp, oftentimes it'll be faster. Instead of jumping, to just tap left and right in quick succession. And that'll cause us to move up the move up the ramp faster. Let's see. I apparently am in the wrong area. Oh, well, that doesn't really matter. We can just dig up until we find ground. And then I will find my buggy, hopefully faster, so that I don't suffocate. Shouldn't be a problem. can also use the flatten terrain tool to dig upward. The problem is that occasionally you'll land in an area that has a bit that doesn't have a whole lot of head clearance, so you oftentimes will end up hitting your head on the ceiling. Alright, so once we recharge, get everything back up to normal, go back over here, and again, let's try it again. So, slide, immediately hit control, allow this to get it back up, no, alright. I think the problem mostly right now is just that this memory leak is going to cause some issues and not allow me to do a proper core slide. Game's trying to read all the terrain in front of me, but it's just not happening. Alright, try again. So, forward control, hit back a couple of times to make sure you're not going too fast. And looks like it dug out, but then I lost it again because game's trying to update my position and all the positions of other stuff in the area too quickly, so yeah, this isn't gonna work. Alright. Well, this will give you the basics of core sliding, and I will try and fix my computer in the meantime. Alright, this has been Obi-Wan Pez, and I will see you all later.